The U.S. economy is on the brink of collapse. Over 60,000 people, from Denver to Tucson, have risen up, demanding justice while billionaires and politicians continue their lavish lifestyles. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a muted glow over the streets of Denver, the air was thick with a sense of urgency. Across the nation, from the bustling avenues of Tucson to the quiet corners of small towns, a chorus of voices rose in unison, echoing the frustrations of over 60,000 individuals who had taken to the streets in a call for justice. This was not merely a protest against a singular issue. It was a powerful manifestation of a collective reckoning with the current state of the economy, a crisis that had pushed the working class to the brink. In the heart of this unfolding drama lay the stark realities of everyday life for millions. Families struggled to make ends meet in a landscape marked by spiraling inflation and stagnating wages. The grocery store shelves, once filled with affordable staples, now bore the weight of rising prices that left many contemplating whether to buy necessities or forego them altogether. Rent, an ever-looming burden, consumed a growing portion of paychecks, leaving little room for anything else. The American dream, once a beacon of hope, felt increasingly out of reach for those who toiled day in and day out, only to find their efforts swallowed by a relentless tide of economic despair. Amidst this turmoil, the glaring contrast between the lives of the elite and those of the working class became painfully evident. Billionaires, insulated from the chaos by their vast fortunes, continued to thrive, their opulent lifestyles untouched by the struggles of ordinary citizens. Politicians, many of whom had promised change, seemed to exist in a different realm altogether, their decisions often benefiting the wealthy while neglecting the very constituents they claimed to serve. Figures like Donald Trump, once heralded by many as a champion of the working class, now faced a wave of discontent from former supporters who felt abandoned in their time of need. The disillusionment was palpable. The promises made seemed hollow against the backdrop of economic collapse. As the crisis deepened, so too did the resolve of the people. Grassroots movements began to emerge, fueled by a growing sense of anger and frustration that could no longer be contained. Protests erupted in cities and towns, each gathering a testament to the collective will of a populace no longer willing to endure silence. Signs bearing slogans of hope and defiance filled the streets, a visual representation of the demands for a government that truly represented the interests of the many rather than the privileged few. The unrest spread like wildfire, igniting passion in urban centers and rural communities alike, as the call for justice resonated across demographics and geographic boundaries. Community meetings became a focal point for mobilization efforts, where citizens gathered to share their stories and strategize for change. In these spaces, the narratives of struggle intertwined, revealing the common threads of hardship that bound them together. Tales of job loss, failed businesses, and the constant juggling of bills painted a vivid picture of life in a collapsing economy. The urgency of their situation was underscored by the fear of a housing market collapse, a prospect that loomed ominously on the horizon. Families, already vulnerable, faced the terrifying possibility of losing their homes, their sanctuaries, to an unforgiving economic tide. The stock market, once a symbol of prosperity, now seemed to reflect the nation's despair. Crashes became a regular occurrence, each one eroding consumer confidence and leaving many questioning their financial futures. The misguided policies that had promised growth and stability instead sowed the seeds of discontent, as communities bore the brunt of decisions made far removed from their realities. The toll of these choices was evident, with once thriving neighborhoods now marked by empty storefronts and a palpable sense of hopelessness. As the movement gained momentum, the question loomed larger than ever. Would the government heed this call for significant change before it was too late? The discontent was no longer confined to the fringes. It had become a mainstream concern, with citizens demanding accountability from their leaders. The urgency of their message resonated in every corner of the nation, a clarion call for a new direction that prioritized the needs of the many over the whims of the few. In the face of adversity, the American people found themselves at a critical juncture in their history. The struggle for rights, livelihoods, and dignity took on a new significance as individuals began to reclaim their voices. The question remained whether they would rise to the occasion, fighting against an unresponsive government that had long ignored their pleas. The stakes were high, and the consequences of inaction were dire. The potential for irreversible damage loomed large, a haunting reminder of what was at stake. As the protests continued, the spirit of solidarity infused the air, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope could be found in unity. The anger and frustration that had fueled the movement were tempered by a determination to forge a new path. Citizens began to envision a future where their voices mattered, where their struggles were acknowledged, and where the government served the people rather than the elite. In this moment of reckoning, the American people stood at a crossroads, faced with the daunting challenge of reclaiming their future. The question was not just whether they would fight. It was whether they could channel their collective power into meaningful change. The echoes of their demands reverberated through the streets, a testament to their resilience and a promise that they would no longer accept a system that failed them. In the heart of the struggle lay the potential for transformation, a chance to reshape the narrative of an economy that had long favored the few over the many. The time for action was now, and the outcome rested in the hands of those who dared to rise.